The use of one joint design on WPS is good for all joint designs with the same procedure. All right, so you could look at QW252. Let's pull that up first and we'll look at it. And it doesn't tell us a specific process. You can see on here, joint design. Let's go to our standard one like here. So joint design is not an essential variable. Designs are all non-essential. Let's try QW402. Joints. A change in the type of groove, U-groove, single bevel, double bevel, etc. The addition or deletion of backing. A change in nominal composition. Let's see here. Let's go to 401.4. Let's look at that one. 401. And it doesn't look like it's in this particular code. Been deleted. All right, one is true. Let's go to two. A WPS must contain all essential variables, supplementary variables, and non-essential variables, while a PQR only has to address the essential variables.
It was confusing the way it was worded as to what a PQR had to have in it on here.
So I talked about that a little bit yesterday, that the PQR is the form that has all of the actual data in it, right? So whatever you did on the test is what the PQR is going to have on it.
But it can have supplemental variables if required.
If you're doing Charpy impact test, yeah.
The way it says if required, that makes it hard to know what it.
What they're talking about there is if you're doing a Charpy impact test on it for your procedures, then all the supplementary variables become essential variables. But if you're not doing a Charpy impact test, notch toughness, then they're just, the supplemental are just supplemental, right? They're non-essential. Yeah. They're only needed if you're doing Charpies. Yep, exactly. All right, so let's look at QW 200.1.
Yeah, I put down 200.3B. But I got it right, so that's good.
Let's see here. PQR is on here somewhere. Is it 0.3? Okay, right here. PQR is a record of variables recorded during the welding of the test coupons. It also contains the test results and test specimens. Recorded variables normally fall within a small range of actual variables that will be used in production welding. Contents of the PQR. So this is kind of where it really breaks it down. So we're looking for, it says WPS must contain all essential variables, supplementary variables, and non-essential variables, while the PQR only has to address essential variables. On the contents of PQR right here, it says the completed PQR shall document all essential and, when required, supplementary essential variables of each welding process.
Essential variables are the only ones that are required.
Yep, they are required. Right.
Non-essential supplementary
Yeah.
are an addition if needed.
Yep.
So it's false?
So yeah, number 2 is false.
Okay, sure.
What was that other two?
All right, number 3.
Yes.
Yes.
6.2. So several companies get together and find their P1 to P1 WPSs are the same as far as the essential variables. They send a representative of all the companies to oversee welder testing at that company. Company 1 hires the welder who works there for the next 3 months and then moves to company 2 of the group. Is he still good to weld without further testing for the same process he qualified to the first time? Yep, because we had a rep from all those different companies that were they're overseeing. He was basically an employee for all of those companies, and he was supervising what was going on. So that's procedure is the same. A rep from all companies was on site to watch.
So on the test, do we have to fucking write out the,
Now you just got to answer the question.
Welding procedure, specification. Talk more simple.
Yeah. So number 4, WPS used on ladders made by a code shop must be qualified on test coupons tested in accordance to Section 9 of the ASME code.
okay, no, and I thought that under interpretation 9, tab 13, tab 20.
So Section 9 is for the qualification of procedures and welders building piping and pressure vessels and boilers, right? It's not for structure. And ladders aren't code work that we're going to be working on. So they would fall under customer specs or AWS standards. So you may be building some structure ladders platforms that are built to AWS D1.1, or it may just be some customer spec for a ladder and platform that doesn't really matter.
Are all shops code shops or are there non-code shops?
Yeah, there's non-code shops. So a code shop would be like with ASME is a shop that is stamped, right? So you have stamps for building pressure vessels or boilers, right? You don't have to be a code shop to build pipe. But
So you're certified in the sense by ASME?
to build pipe, you don't even have to be certified. You just got to build the stuff by code. Yeah, to engineer it, that's a different story, right? To engineer the pipelines and all the stuff that you need to use, that's different. But to build it, to build just pipe, not a big deal. Yeah, you can build it without stamps. But to build pressure vessels and boilers, you got to be a coded shop. Number 5, what is the thickness range for a test coupon tested to Section 9 that is 1/4 of an inch thick?
The 451.
Yep.
That was the easiest one. That was the, 12 was the easiest, the second easiest.
Yeah, number 5 is D, 1/16 of an inch to 1/2 inch. That's QW 451.1. Let's go to number 6. When qualifying a WPS, you must write both a WPQ and a PQR.
Let's see.
What do you guys think? Did you find it anywhere?
I couldn't find that one. That was
I guessed that one, I just said yes.
yeah, I guess it's on it.
Okay, so this is more kind of, I mean, you could go to 106.2E. Let's go look at that one first. I'm not sure what it says there off the top of my head.
Because it seems like you would definitely need your record
Right.
for something like that. Because they're not just going to take your word for it that it works, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm going to describe why I have no on this here in just a second. and there's a specific reason.
I got no also.
The wording here implies that it's not already written and you have to write it and try to write it by yourself. If it was already written, you wouldn't have to write it. So I guess it's,
Yeah, you're getting to where I'm going with this. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
decides on how do you interpret the question?
Yep.
If it's not already written, you're writing it, or if you're a company that already has a pre-designated procedure to follow, everyone deciphers it wrong or different.
So it was a dick question.
Okay, so 106.2E, when a procedure qualification test coupon has been tested and found acceptable, the person who prepared the test coupon is also qualified for the joining process used within the ranges specified for performance qualification for the applicable process. So one of the reasons why I have no on here is when qualifying a WPS, it says you must write both the WPQ and a PQR. When qualifying on a WPS, the person that qualified on the WPS is already qualified to that WPS. So we don't have to go through and write a separate qualification for that. So that's one of the small reasons. But also, I've talked about writing or pulling up welding procedures from like the 70s at a company I worked at, right? Sometimes you will only find a PQR, a procedure qualification record, and you won't find a welding procedure. Well, let's say I find a PQR and it's from the 70s and it's on carbon steel. It's a TIG process. It's showing that the test was done on 1-inch thick material. It shows my deposition of my TIG wire, what size wire I used, what amperage I used, and all the actual variables that was used on the test, right? Just like we just did it. But on that PQR, it also tells us the lab number, who did the testing on it. It gives us all the mechanical test reports, the bends, the tensile tests, anything we did on it. All that information is right there on the PQR. So I can actually take that PQR from the 70s and I can write a brand new welding procedure off of that PQR and then just reference that PQR in my welding procedure, right? I can take, let's say that PQR was a TIG procedure to start. It was a 2-process procedure. So we put a 1-inch thick plate, we put in a 1/2 inch of TIG, stringered it and put a 1/2 inch of TIG in, then we put a 1/2 inch of stick in it. I can take the 1/2 inch deposition of that TIG wire that we put in there, and I can write a brand new welding procedure just for TIG with those limits. Just a TIG procedure off that PQR from the 70s. So on to number 6, that's the reason I put it this way, is we don't necessarily have to write a PQR when qualifying a WPS. We may already have a PQR written. We may use half of a PQR to write a new WPS. All right. We may write a welding procedure and never qualify anybody to it.
Can you use a PQR from another company to establish their own WPS? It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah. That falls into that umbrella. So if it was a parent company owned that PQR, then you could use it. But if it's a completely separate entity, no. Right. But you can use it for information's sake, like I talked about the other day.
For reference.
Yeah, for reference.
Change a few letters and you got your WPS.
Yeah, I've done stuff like that. I've requalified it, but I've taken welding procedures that I wanted to use and
amps and different angles.
Yeah.
You got tape.
absolutely, yeah, we're good to go. Weld it out, send it off, get it tested. That you can use the variables from another test that work for you.